seconded by.
I'll second.
Okay. Any more discussion? Jack?
I wanted to point out action 45, if you haven't addressed it already, saying that basically it says, if there's a general plan provision that doesn't agree with this, then we need to change the general plan. So all the rural protection provisions in the countywide general plan and the AV plan, I don't know about OVOV. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that if it is a binding planning document, if they're going to comply with it, then they have to go through CEQA. They're not going through CEQA. And so under CEQA, they are not.
Okay, you gotta go through for CEQA
For 10 homes a year, you have to go through CEQA for water.
Yes, for 2 houses.
No, so, but here's the key, and we're putting it in our letter, so, you know, but you are exempted from doing CEQA if you come up with a plan, as long as the plan is not binding and it doesn't inform any ministerial or discretionary actions.
Wow.
So they are not doing an EIR or even an ADET, so it's non-binding. So
And
you
yet this
can't-
is gonna take the place of the general plan.
Well,
This is gonna
yeah.
preempt the general plan.
So
Okay, so-
we're pointing that out.
45, I've got that, and the CEQA, is there anything specific?
None of the sequels in there, that's what, I can send you the guidelines, the section of the guidelines that says you're exempt from doing an EIR if you're doing a plan, unless the plan is binding, and then you have to do environmental.
Okay, I'd like to include that in ours too.
Sure, I'll send it to you.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You know, and that's, Jackie, on the same lines, that's what happened with all water. That was just an idea that was handed down. It wasn't even a policy. Next thing you know, boom, here's a whole set of regulations that aren't ordinances,
They're not
but
even
they're
regulations.
policy. And look where we're at today. You know, we beat that horse down the road.
Yeah.
Rest of the meeting. Incoming correspondence. Southern California Edison to stop using helicopters for distribution system
Did I send that to you?
infrared monitor.
You didn't, but Susan did.
Oh, okay.
You sent it to.
Based on the fact SCE's wildfire mitigation plan there to use ground-based equipment.
No, so, well, based on that, the red and white helicopters should not be flying.
That's correct. And what they did in Acton is they went around, because they came to the last meeting, around and around, and I kept saying, we understand what you're doing, but you're not supposed to do it with helicopters. And so finally the guy said, okay, 2 more days of helicopters, and that's it. So we said, okay. And as far as I know, no more helicopters in Acton since then.
I don't even look at those anymore. So, thank you for that.
Sure.
A couple original plans file. One's a 13136 Sierra Highway zoning verification letter for a charter school. Is that the old
Where is that?
Alamo?
Yeah.
Is that
They're
the
doing
people
it?
who came here that night?
Yeah.
They're moving forward with this?
Wow. Okay.
You don't have enough traffic on Sierra Highway?
That's crazy.
It is.
Which charter school is
And
this
3.
one?
Lillian's got the question.
She's asking which charter school it was.
Which charter school is this?
This was a charter school that came here that wasn't very prepared.
The one
Yeah.
that for the Tony Alamo building?
Yes.
Okay, well, those were turned down by the school board 2 or 3 times already, so what is going on with this?
It's their zoning verification letter for a charter school at that location.
No more buses.
But that's, they haven't got any approval to put one in there.
So what is a zoning verification letter?
Yeah, what is
I
that?
think they send, they go to the counter and say, give me a letter that says I can put a charter school at this location.
Is the zoning appropriate for what I want?
Which is what the Buddhists should have done.
This is the request.
Right, this, yes.
We
And
don't know
we
when
should
this-
probably tell them, the Buddhist people, and I'll get the information from you, Lillian, because you've got their friends. The Buddhist monk zoning does not work for a temple on ancient property. It's not a by use.
Is that a CP?
There's a temporary use permit for
An event.
an event, but they'll need a conditional use permit to put in a temple.
They want to put their motive is to put it in the temple.
We told Acton residents to talk to you guys if they were concerned, and we assured them that you would respond because it's right on the border. So
Yeah.
I hope that's okay, but I could be interested.
And they came in and presented they're just not savvy as to what needs to be done.
They think they bought the land and that's all they had to do and they can do whatever they want.
And he's so excited.
And it's great, you know, more power to them,
Yes.
but, you know, Sierra Highway can be very deadly. And that's something that's really concerning when you're talking 100 cars coming in there for an event, and a little 20-foot wide space, breaking the gate to get all the cars in.
Well, if you guys could reach out, make sure that the public works does a line of sight thing, because sometimes they don't. You have to be able to see long, far roads, so.
Well, this is right, you go around the turn.
Exactly, so sometimes that, you can't even get a permit if you don't have adequate line of sight. Either Caltrans or Public Works, so please make sure that they know that.
Are we getting a new restaurant?
I don't know where this is.
3355 Agua Road, that is on this side of the road.
Yeah, that's all I
That
can figure
is,
out.
it's the lowest level.
Now, we're 33201.
Okay, so that's going that way. So it must be maybe homemade. I don't know. Who knows?
First 33301.
We're 33605. So it's
Would
gotta
it be, would it,
Land's property. Land's property.
On the corner of Darling and,
It could be.
is it Jerry's? Jerry's liquor store?
I don't think so. Someone Google Agua General Store and see what comes up. All right. So, public hearing, regional planning hearing officer, public hearing for AT&T mobility modification to an existing wireless telecommunication facility near 10858 Sierra Highway. That would be right by Reyes Winery.
No, it's.
It's more, it's on that way, on that side.
Yeah, it's past
And
Oh, there's somebody
Have
here.
you?
That's me.
Oh, man.
We didn't expect.
And they're in color.
I didn't know what
Okay, cool. This is good, wow, yeah, this is the protocol from now on.
I won't tell me. No.
And we're done, okay, so that's what,
My name's Cherry Ambrose here for AT&T, of course. AT&T is going to proposing to modify an existing wireless facility that's in the public right of way. And the best way to show what's going on is through these photo mock-ups.
okay,
So page 1,
yeah, I saw that.
that's existing.
Right,
That pole in the background, that's an old pole.
okay,
That's scheduled to be taken out by Edison.
okay,
And this photo was done about 4 months ago, so that pole may be gone by now, I'm not sure, but it's going to be taken down. And AT&T, in order to bring fiber to the location, they're proposing a new pole, wood pole in the right of way, right next to the existing pole, with a little dish antenna on the top to get fiber to the site.
okay.
That's the basics of it. And there's a bunch of different views here from different angles. That's, normally this would just be, you just go through public works, but the county determined that because it's a new pole, there's some argument about that, which process it should follow. But anyways, they put us into the public hearing process.
But it's only a new pole because they're replacing. No.
No,
It's been a micro.
the other pole, so the existing cell site, that pole replaced that other one in the other photo.
Got it, okay.
The other one hasn't been taken down as about 4 months ago. So this would be a new pole.
and that one's supposed to go up, right?
This one will go in as soon as, hopefully we're approved by regional planning and public works. Our hearing is on Tuesday. So the planner, Anthony Kersey, is looking for, we of course want your support, whatever decision you make. Some kind of a letter or email to him acknowledging that you reviewed
Is
it.
there anybody here who has any concerns about this project at all?
Is it going to include FirstNet?
In the right of way, not right now, for sure. Maybe later. AT&T is deploying FirstNet,
Yeah, we've been asking for her stuff, everybody has.
Yeah, this, I know they're deploying it on the regular cell towers, the big ones, for sure. This one is not, this is a very small site on
So
Minnesota
you-
Road.
Could you not do FirstNet on it, or?
I don't know the technical answer to that. It's a whole separate, it's a separate antenna, it's a separate frequency.
Makes it's emergency response connections.
Right,
Yeah,
so,
it's a first responders separate spectrum or frequency that all first responders can use. And AT&T is the sole provider of first.
so I guess the question would be, is FirstNet available in the area by another means? By another?
Through the regular cell towers.
Right.
It is or will be. I don't think it's fully deployed yet. 'Cause I'm still working on a lot of regular cell tower modifications.
Okay,
where
so
they're
this
adding
is just
that.
this is a smaller,
This would be a 4G. This would be upgraded to 4G. Right now it's a 3G type.
one more cheese.
4G, more G.
5G is coming too, very quick.
Somewhere down the road. Yeah. They don't tell me anything about that. Sometime down the road.
I would make a motion that he's come and he's presented and there was no issues one way or the other, no community concerns. And let it go there.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Do we have a person?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then I'll send it to Anthony.
Thanks very much.
Okay. Got a bunch of letters.
Man, I'm glad you're warmed up, Mary. Okay, next up. Letters to be written by Mary. Open forum, we have the open forum portion. Anybody who wants to stand up and talk about something for 3 minutes or less? Raise your hand now, this is your moment. Yes, sir, you've been patient. We gave you 3.5 minutes.
Maybe this has been addressed in the past or something. The dumping on Sierra Highway, it seems like a continuous thing. I mean, can we put signs up that, there's no signs that say no dumping, $1,000 fine or whatever, on Sierra Highway that I've seen.
Now, are we talking about dumping trash or?
Yeah, dumping trash. I'm passing, luckily at work I have a huge trash bin, so several mornings a month, I would say, I'm picking up stuff on the way to work.
Is there specific locations?
No, even stuff that just falls out of trucks. There was a window that was sitting on the side of the road right near our property for like 2 months. I picked it up and took it in. Several going down.
So
the
you can
road,
call
shed.
the sheriff's station, and we can get a hold of the proper agency, like if it's like a hazard thing, like there's glass and stuff, we definitely need to get that out of the roadway. County public works will do stuff like that for that kind of thing. But if like they're just littering, it's kind of kind of cause an act.
There's couches, I mean.
Yeah,
go
oh,
by.
yeah, that kind of stuff, yeah, call us and I'll call the proper, agency to get it.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Okay, I have committee reports. Ooh, let's start off with Candy Committee with their CHP Community Advisory Committee
Oh,
report.
we haven't had a meeting
Okay,
yet.
all right. Next up, we got, looks like, Bylaws Revision Committee with Lou and Mary.
We're still working.
CSD Revision, that's inactive. Election Committee, Rosie is not here.
She's looking for volunteers to serve on the committee because I believe Lorna has backed away.
Really? Oh, boy, okay. All right. So, Lorna replacement. All right.
So if anybody here interested in helping out on the election
It's
committee,
great, lots
let us know.
of fringes. Film Committee, Candy.
28 shoots, and also when I got the freeway, there was still a sign up, and I checked my list of shoots for room 104, it's still sitting on the freeway off ramp. So I called up the location manager,
Yep.
Carolyn, and I said, your shoot was over the 30th of May, we appreciate your moving your sign as soon as possible. She said she will have to take care of it, and I will continue to follow what
Good for
she
you.
does. Because that's one thing I've always asked, get rid of the signs, when you're done, take it down. So,
I was amazed, you know, they shot at the pepper tree about 5 days ago.
Right.
One of the shoots went into like 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that. They actually came out and gave a questionnaire if any of this concerned you before they were gonna do the event. And yeah, and it was to return to a dory. And I got a copy because they actually came up to our house, and our house is like 900 feet from the market, so they really weren't required to. So I was amazed that they were doing an outreach to find out what concerned us.
You know
And
what the phone call was?
no, but I got the tickets. I kept them.
Okay.
So I'll give them to you.
Okay.
I'll give them to you. And, but it was something I thought, this is cool,
Yeah.
because they're gonna go out.
I'd like to acknowledge
And
that.
the gal actually told Lori that she needed to get Lori's signature before they could get approval to do the shoot, which is amazing.
It is.
It's like you need to get the acceptance of the neighbors
Right.
before you can do what you wanna do, so I thought that was kind of cool. Of course, there's probably a whole
They
bunch
were
of.
very confused. They thought they were down in Brentwood.
So anyway, I just thought I'd add that on there. Land stewardship, Ed's not here, Parks and Trail. Ooh, you're upset, aren't you?
LA County Department of Parks and Rec has released Trails LA County, a new mobile app showing trails. Sounds all good.
Yeah, that was about it.
Until I went and downloaded Trails LA, and there is not any trail in this area. So I contacted, first I contacted Stephanie, and she put me in with somebody else. I said, we've got the Pacific Crest Trail, National Trail, running right through town.
It doesn't show up on
Doesn't
the
show
app.
up. We've got 2 small little trails over at Vasquez Rocks. Nothing shows up. Well, the trails over at Vasquez Rocks are getting digitized. We'll get them on. And we're looking to partner with the Pacific Crest Trail.
No.
And I said, if you need help partnering, we've got the guy to contact.
CK came to us.
So let me know. So this was June 1st, and I just checked 2 days ago. There still hasn't been change.
We'll keep us updated. Thank you very much. All right, water stewardship.
Lillian has a question.
Has the Darrell Redmond
Yes.
Trail been forgotten as well?
The Darrell Redmond Trail, the Backbone Trail,
All gone,
there's nothing that exists. So,
all part of the big picture.
yeah. And Leona Huber, Trails Council people, were not thrilled at all, because they were the ones who put in all the GPSing on all those trails, so.
Goodness.
Actually, the Darrell Redmond Trail does exist on here. It's a 0.2 mile trail in Acton,
On the park.
on the park. Right, I think that was it.
That's exactly.
0.2.
Because it's really down the middle of Sierra Highway. It's never on the north, because when it's on the north, it's on the south. When it's on the south, it's on the west.
But still, even though, you know, that's the stuff that needs to be on, because, and that's why I really fought to get dedicated, put into our CSD.
All right, we want the water stewardship. We're hoping for half a gallon a minute. That's the latest. Wells are still testing better now than they did last year, which is kind of cool. We haven't had one well that we've checked that has made less water this year than it made previously. So that's good.
Everything's improving.
So it's either staying the same or coming in, which is good.
Well, that's more information.
Yeah, that's tough, isn't it? Well, Beverly Hills, okay. Ways and Means, Troy and Scott.
Nothing new.
Nothing. Disaster planning, Jerry's not here. Acton Agua Dulce School Board Liaison, Ed is not here. So Acton Town Council Liaison, Lillian Smith is here.
I am here, and all the things that you heard tonight from Acton Town Council people are the issues that they are facing, so I need not repeat. I don't think, unless they want to add something.
Cool. All right, that's good. Report is taken, appreciate it. And filed. Okay. Announcements, Association of Rural Town Council meeting is coming up on June 26th. Quartz Hill Library meeting room. Quartz Hill. Our next regular Agua Dulce Town Council meeting is July 10th.
yes, we need to agree to be dark in August.
In August, that's right. Okay, so we need motion.
No, just,
Just the standard.
I'll start putting that on our,
That's our policy. Future agenda items, Zoe is supposed to be here next meeting, which is good. That brings us to item number 18. Need a motion? Yes.
A motion to adjourn.
Yeah, wait a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is officially in the books.
Come to your house and you have a bathroom on.
We aren't changing it. So if you were to add more bedrooms, you would have to show us whether or not you had capacity for more bedrooms, but not for another bathroom.
And then what is this run in the way of money?
For what?
These tests and these proof this stuff, is it a lot of money?
I would have to defer to an expert in that field. I don't know what the cost of a well yield test is, but we require them right now for everyone at the 3 gallons and 2 gallons per minute standard.
The testing runs between $5,000 and $6,000, depending upon, what size pump it is, what size generator it takes, what all is involved, what the location is. But $5,000 to $6,000, including the permits and the quality test. The permit now is around $1,000, and the quality test is about $1,500. So we got just about half of it's eaten up with the permits and the lab charges.
But if you already have a house permitted and your well showed 3/4 of a gallon
Yes.
per minute, and it was tested 8 years ago and you got, or before,
Right.
2002,
Right.
then would you have to retest it again for a new bedroom, as long as
For a new bedroom,
as long as it met the old, you don't take the old
we
test?
don't take the old test.
What if there was a fire? You lived there for a long time, it was fine when you moved in?
So if there's a fire, state law says that if you were on cold water and your house burned down when you were on cold water, you can rebuild your house on cold water. So
So it doesn't matter what the well yield is either then?
So right now, we've had a lot of conversations with the fire department. The fire department has a new requirement that they put in a few years ago, that you have to have a 13,000-gallon water tank for fire suppression when you build a new home or when you rebuild a home after a fire. And so you would have to make sure your tank is set up so that you can have adequate water for fire suppression, be able to add cold water to it, have a low-level water alarm to let you know when to order more water. And we would recommend that you put a recirculating pump inside the tank because a 13,000-gallon tank is going to go kind of stagnant, so you want that circulating and be aerated. So if you came to us and declared that you were going to be on cold water previously, all we would ask you for is a contract showing that you have a water hauler to provide you water.
What is the follow-on if you're not on the whole?
right, if you just got a low well yield.
Right,
So if you just have a low well yield and you don't need cold water,
right.
we would allow you to rebuild.
With a well yield test.
No. So you're going to come back to us and you're going to self-declare either I'm on cold water, so I can want to rebuild on cold water, or you're going to come back and say I had adequate water from my well. You're going to do a self-assessment of any damage to your well, show us that you repaired anything that was wrong with it, send that to us and we'll sign a permit that you can reconnect electricity up to the well, and we'll give you a water availability letter.
This doesn't cost us any money then.
That part of it does not cost you any money, other than repairs to the well to get it working again. We don't charge for a water availability letter at this point, we're just reviewing a sheet of paper and issuing a letter.
Well, it sounds reasonable, as far as the half a gallon a minute. I think we're getting there, but again, so that's the mechanics of it, the testing, the capacity, the numbers. Now the issue is, where do we go with the CEQA thing? How is that going to come into the picture? What's involved with that? What's the reasoning behind it? And I know that's not your field. Is there anybody here that can explain the CEQA process and what the need for it is?
Especially because the 3 gallon per minute was never subject to CEQA.
It never was an
Correct.
ordinance. It was strictly a policy instated by the health department.
Never adopted by the board.
That's right.
There is a board adopted, the board did adopt the well yield requirement. They did not adopt 3 gallons per minute.
They did not adopt any yield level that had to be met.
Right,
They meant it was a water quality
right,
and yield test.
right. That's correct.
Right, so it was really just
No acceptability standard.
right, do a well yield test so that you know what it is. there's no
That's a
requirement
small
as what it is, and that's a good thing. We all need to know what our well yield is, but I'm not sure that, 3 gallons a minute is.
One of the other county agencies that we did meet with was our county council and the county attorney for CEQA, and we posed the question as to would a CEQA be required? And the answer was yes, because we're lowering it, which could encourage growth, and that would require the CEQA.
But it's really not encouraging growth, it's allowing you to build on legally permitted lots.
There's already by right development lots there, and
Right.
the development of those lots have already been processed and handled under the general plan, in this case, what the DOV, and county plan. So development has been, you know,
So I understand that, this is what we were told, so Susie?
Yeah, so I can add to that. Again, I'm Susie Tam with Regional Planning, and so to go back to the earlier slide about the previous environmental document. So as you may recall, there was an update and it was adopted in 2012. It was called One Valley, One Vision, and it was the update to the Santa Clarita Valley Area Plan. And so what that is that's really the blueprint for development in the unincorporated Santa Clarita Valley. And so as part of that policy document, there was an environmental requirement. So that's the CEQA process. Through that document, it looks at a number of factors. It looks at air quality, it looks at traffic, it looks at biology, and it looks at water availability in terms of services. And what that EIR, what that environmental document concluded was that based on the current well yield requirements, which is the 3 gallons per minute we're operating under today, it was found that because wells had been failing and the concern that there was not enough information about existing groundwater supplies, that it would be a significant and unavoidable impact with this new policy document based on the understanding that with the 3 gallons per minute, people were still struggling with wells going dry. So that's based on the local groundwater supplies as we knew it back in 2012. So that was one of the other questions we have worked through internally, which is to say, if we go forward with this proposal, the board adopted OVOV, the board certified the environmental document. So as a county, we documented that our understanding is that this is a significant impact based on what we knew then. If we lowered the 3 gallons per minute to something less, then we would need to study that under CEQA because it would be creating a potentially a greater impact than what we already knew in 2012. So 2012, we knew it as 3 gallons per minute, and we concluded that, that there were concerns, there would be significant impacts. If we lower it to below 3 gallons per minute, we would be potentially making the water availability condition worse. And so by CEQA, we are required to study it to make sure, do we really understand what that change means? There's a number of factors again, and so the slide also touched on the biology, the significant ecological areas. There are a lot of things that rely on water, certainly people, but also the environment. And so collectively, we want to look at all of the unintended consequences of making the change. And then that's why you kind of see a multi-county department representation tonight, because there are a lot of factors that public health's well yield requirement does to impact the rest of us. And so we're all here together to kind of share what we know so far and kind of, really look at what we have and make sure that we're making a thoughtful and considered decision, weighing everything together.
Okay, I have one question regarding that. You say that there was something was cited in the OVOV of 2012. What studies, where did they get their information? Because we service most of the wells in this area. Nobody ever called me before that paper came out. I'm just wondering, where are those documents and how can we see them to see what they used for their findings?
Sure. I can't speak off the top of my head what we have, but all of the environmental impact report is available online. So maybe what we can do is we can share with the town council and then you could distribute your distribution list. Yeah, but the full EIR from 2012 is available online, so it has all of the the different sections, like I mentioned, the different topics that it studies. And then it also has the background study, so it has the more technical information that supported the conclusions in that document. So yeah, we're happy to share the link, it's available now.
The other concern is, we've got a 3 gallon per minute minimum requirement, that's 4,500 gallons per day. If someone has a 4,500 gallon per day well, they might consider putting in a large lawn and horses and arena and use 3,000 of that 4,500 gallons over and beyond what is needed in the home, okay? The person that drills the well that makes a half a gallon a minute, he's gonna keep an eye on a storage tank. He's not even gonna think about putting in a lot, which is really more in line with what the governor has put in the law books as far as what they're shooting, what the goal is for minimum usage. So as far as water conservation, you'll never find anybody who's more conservative with water that all they have is hauled in water. They're watching, when they take a shower, they put a 5 gallon bucket under the head before the water gets hot and use that to water the plants. So I really think it needs, when we're talking about, more development, it may be more development, but it's gonna be the right kind of development. And it's gonna be the most conservative water using homes in LA County. Everybody in LA County ought to have to haul water. That would guarantee there wouldn't be a water shortage if everybody had to do that, because it isn't a luxury. But these people own this property, they wanna build their dream home. We have a couple people in the audience tonight, I know that they spent close to $100,000 drilling wells to get the adequate water. And their progress is based on seeing that this can come through. They're happy with a half a gallon.
And you
They
also,
don't have a problem. Their properties are legal properties. They have by right, a right to build that home. They bought a legal lot, so I think that's gotta be taken into consideration as far as and I don't know what all's involved with the CEQA. I don't know if it's gonna require an EIR, but when they did the EIR for the hauled water, it was totally absurd. They took into account 43,000 lots that possibly could be built on using hauled water, not realizing that 30,000 of the 43,000 lots will never be built on. All they're good for is solar panels out there in the middle of the desert. Not only that, those properties that are out there in the Antelope Valley, they've got 100 gallons a minute. They've got all the water in the world. It's just the property's useless to build a house. So we're not talking about a whole lot of expansion going on. We're talking about maybe 30, 40, 50 homes over the next 10 years. But if that's your home, that's 100% effect. And I think we need a little consideration. And whatever we can do to speed this up or bypass that study needs to be pursued. I mean, we've been battling this, for a long time, going on 15 years.
Yeah, and if I could just add to that, I think, more information is usually always better, right? The more we know, the more information we have to make informed decisions. And something that is going on in a planning process, it's, I'm not exactly quite sure, where they are in their time frame, but under state law, groundwater basins that have a high potential for not enough groundwater basically to sustain, everyone relying on it, they're required to go through a groundwater sustainability planning effort. And so the Santa Clarita Valley is one of those basins within LA County that was identified as serious enough to warrant this groundwater planning effort. And so, so you have a lot of folks, from the different stakeholders who are part of that groundwater sustainability planning. So the idea is, you can understand what the groundwater basin has in terms of capacity and what is the safe amount of using that groundwater without, ultimately not using all of it up and making it unsustainable for everyone. I will say that the Antelope Valley is a little bit different because of the adjudication. So water is, a really complicated topic, and there's all sorts of laws that regulate how people get water, what the water rights are. So yeah, so Antelope Valley is a little bit of a different situation where everyone has their allotment decided by, the courts. In this case, it's not the same. We're going through that groundwater sustainability planning to be more proactive and understand how much water is there and how much would be safe to use. Yeah, so that's another factor certainly, and we understand, yeah, that these are impacting, you know, people and their homes, so, yeah, we're taking it very seriously. Yeah.
Yes.
That whole sustainable groundwater management
Yeah.
issue has already taken a look at this groundwater basin and Acton's groundwater basin, and found that they are not overdraft, not high priority, they're sustainable, they're sustainable. And a well up on a hill in a crack is not actually anywhere near their mapped basin. So it's
That's a
important
good
in your
point.
assessment to understand that as far as the state water board is concerned, excuse me,
Groundwater.
no, the WDO,
The Department of Water Resources?
yes, DDO, that's the one. And they're the ones who were charged or tasked with the SIGMA regulations. They don't have any problem with this basin, and we finally got them to recognize that with the Acton basin as well. And as far as impacts on the Santa Clara River, the concept of 50 homes over the next 20 years being built here, having an impact on this Santa Clara River down at Santa Clarita is going to be inconsequential considering the new Hall Ranch with 20,000 homes and all that other stuff. So I'm going to make it very clear right now, if there's anything comes out in the study as a potentially significant impact on the Santa Clara River,
It's those large housing.
yeah, I'm going to challenge it because it's like a flea on a huge.
There's 43,000 homes planned in Santa
Exactly.
Clarita.
And that's
43,000.
That's been our issue all along, is we're under the microscope beyond, and yet the approvals that these thousands of
Centennial.
right,
To home, New
all of these other large housing tracts are getting approved, and they're going through the process, but it just, we're like, it's minuscule, like as Don said,
The one person
it's
with a house
not gonna
with
be
4 people.
43,000 parcels that are gonna be affected by this. It's gonna, as Don said, 20, 30, 40 homes over a period of time. And really,
And I think the proof of that, you know, is if you go back before there was any regulation at all, go back before 2002, before the county couldn't give away what you had for water usage. And that's the way it was out here before 2002. There was no giant building boom. There was not, 500 homes a year that would affect anything. It was, maybe 20, 30, 40 homes in the building boom era. And the way the building situation is right now, LA County, as everybody knows, is the most difficult county to get a building permit in the entire world. And that's, it's something where for someone to suffer through 3 or 4 years trying to obtain a permit, only to find out their well comes in a half a gallon a minute too short, just to me isn't fair. It isn't. I don't think that's the spirit of what quite frankly, I don't know what the spirit of this regulation is, because I can't really see who's harmed by a low producing well. It certainly isn't the person that's willing to accept the low producing well. How can it be the county that's going to get the tax revenue from the home from a low producing well? Who's the person that's being harmed? I can't
And they're
understand.
more conservative, they understand the lack of water, so they're more conservative, so they're
They-
more fiscally
and they-
responsible
and
for
they
that
accept it.
situation.
I can see where the health department would be concerned about the quality of that water. That's a primary concern. They don't want someone getting poisoned. But for the capacity, and I agree, the well should be tested, but I don't think there should be any set amount. The person should know what his well produces. If he's willing to build his house, shouldn't that be his? Shouldn't that be his?
There is a state law now that says that you cannot build a house where any part of the source of that water is going to be uncalled water.
Right.
Right.
We
So
agree.
that-
We agree.
we get it.
So part of this is also making sure that we have in our method of approval that house won't be uncalled water.
Right.
Because we want to make sure that there is going to be an adequate water supply for not just today, but throughout the life of the home. And that's why we have the 2 gallon per minute.
That's how this whole thing got started.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it got ramped up when the governor said no building period. I agree.
And it
This
makes
guy's
sense.
had his hand up like for.
Is that 2 gallons,
I'm sorry?
3 gallons a minute, is that a regulation? Is that the law? I mean,
So there is a law.
okay, so I bought my house 5 years ago, It came in at 1.5. Nobody ever said to me anything about that.
This is to build a new home.
Oh, this new home.
To
So
build a new
existing
home.
homes don't fit into
This
any
does
of
not
this.
fit into existing homes at all. This is to build a new home.
Okay. all right.
Have you ever run out of water?
No, I haven't.
There you go.
No, I haven't.
There you go.
When,
And I did all that because I didn't know anything about well water, so I did a whole bunch of study, look it up, Google it, whatever. And then at 2,000, it's 2,000 gallons a day. So I figured, holy cow, I mean, I don't really feel like I could use that much, so I went ahead and bought the house.
Yeah.
So, and it's been fine. I haven't had to buy new water or anything, but I was just wondering if when I go to sell my house, if I'm gonna have to come up to that standard.
no, you're not.
Okay, all right.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
We have no intention of putting that in. That's
Not today. Exactly.
So quick.
Give it a few
Thank
years.
you.
Let's see. Anybody else? Okay, yes.
I don't live here. I'm sort of an interloper from Acton, so I apologize. But I believe that our community would thrive with limited development, with something. We have not had a house built in Acton in years. And our school district it's hanging on and it's doing well, but it could do a lot better.
That's right.
And I think 10 homes per year, in 10 years, that's 100 homes. I'm gonna take 100 years to get to 1,000 homes. They're doing 27,000 homes in new homes. I mean, we're not asking for, you know, it's reasonable what's being requested. And in terms of impacts, when you look at, if you look at anything under a microscope, it looks huge, even a fleet. But when you consider it in balance with the cumulative impacts of what's going on, you know, there's a Tip Canyon development, there's all kinds of things around it, and it's nothing compared to that. So I'm really struggling with this whole idea of CEQA. And I know the AD plan, which we're not in the OBOD, but I don't remember it looking at 3 gallons per minute and its impact assessment being based on that. So what you do here isn't just affecting Agua Dulce, it's affecting us in Acton. And I apologize for, you know, bringing Acton in, but it's, you know, we're not on the same boat, and I never saw it. So I'm going to, of course, you have to go home and check with that tonight, but, because we might be looking at that as well. So it's hard for me to fathom that a CEQA document would come out, the 10 homes in Agua Dulce a year, but that's probably what it is.
We'd love to see 10 new homes.
But I don't think it'll be much more than that. It's gonna be like
Yeah.
anything more than a neg deck or even mitigated neg deck. I mean,
I would like to say, as a realtor out in this area, you, at the 3 gallons per minute, you have destroyed anybody that has a piece of land that doesn't have a well on it, because they're not building and they're not selling. So the value, I mean, for somebody to buy one of those pieces of land, you're gonna put out $100,000 for your land, then you're going to go try and find water. Well, if you don't find 3 gallons per minute, you're not building, and then what's your land worth? Nothing. So how do you sell it to somebody else so they can go through the same process again? So you basically have made everybody's property that's not built on worthless. Where
Well,
half a
and
gallon
it's
goes
not
back.
just worthless, you've spent a lot of money.
Right,
to
and you're
find out.
paying taxes on it.
And what's the cost of drilling a 600-foot well?
$24,000.
Okay, $24,000, permits, all the other stuff, $30,000, $40,000. And if you don't have 2 gallons a minute,
Right, you're drilling
for
again.
72 hours.
right.
24. It's not stretchy.
It just boggles my mind that we're putting all this work into trying to build their dream home. And bottom line, we as a council have been working on this, and it's not for the masses of Agua Dulce. It's for those people who are trying to build.
It's for Stephen Quinones and his family. They, you know, they bought property, they wanna build a house, the well doesn't make 2 gallons per minute, so what can he do?
Exactly.
You know, he's hopeless, until something gets changed. He's happy with 1,500 gallons a day.
Very happy.
Very happy. He'd love to build.
I want you to look at this family and remember that when you go back to your desks tomorrow.
Yeah,
Both
because
of you.
they can't proceed
This is who we're talking about.
Until this goes through. It's that simple. And I don't know what he paid for the property, but I know he paid a pretty penny. He's paying taxes on it. He's paying thousands of dollars in engineering fees and architectural fees to get his house designed, on studies for the soil analysis, for the septic. You know, he's getting hit with both barrels. Just wants to build one house.
So we can move
there.
And he's who we're fighting for.
Yeah. And to me, it's just, there needs to, and I know Scott's been working his tail off. He's been in this thing from the beginning, but it's like, we just need to get over the goal line, you know, and all of a sudden we get hit with this secret requirement that doesn't even apply to the people that are being affected by this low water situation. So,
And,
anyway, that's.
and I know at one point you talked about case by case possibility. We don't want case by case.
That doesn't help the real
Because
estate.
you, this is a perfect example, case by case, you get there, there's a 50-50 chance, case by case isn't gonna work for them.
Case by case, unless you establish the thresholds at the beginning, it means nothing.
Well,
I say
it also, you have to have the house built in the time period the letter's good for.
We're-
So
we're
I'm
looking-
running it into that.
we're looking at that.
Where, because of all the regulations and everything I'm having to jump through, I'm gonna push up against that 3-year mark. And what do I do now? I go test it again, I spent $1 zillion to get it ready.
And the last two people that have come to us with that, we gave extensions on the letter. And we're gonna consider doing that again.
Good.
We understand how difficult it can be to go through the process to get, you know, the regional planning approval, the grading permits, and get all that done. And then it's 3 years and our letter's expired, and now you can't build your house without doing another well test. And we've had discussions about that previously, and we don't think that's fair. And so we want to do something about that.
I have a question now. You've done all this study, all this research, and tonight we hear we need more studies and more research. How long are we looking at?
I don't know. But we will.
I mean, are we looking at 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? This is our home.
I will tell you from the supervisor's office, she's making it a priority. And I also can't give you a deadline, I'm not the technical expert, but I appreciate what Mary said, because that is how she operates and how she thinks. These are decisions that affect actual families and individual lives, and believe me, she knows that. So, I just want you to know we hear you, and we're not gonna delay any longer. I'm not saying you're gonna get the answer you want, but I'm just saying, you're right, there's been a lot of years and a lot of information funneled into looking at this. As I said in the beginning, it is quite complex, but at some point there has to be some decision, some movement forward, or something done. So, I hear you.
I just want to confirm what Donna said, and Susie, hi, it's me, Pam. I'm from Acton, I'm on the Acton Town Council. My husband was a custom home builder. I have the names of at least 8 to 10 people that we were not able to build their homes for over the last 7 or 8 years, simply because their well production did not meet the 3 gallons per minute. One of those people had their home up Aliso Canyon, was destroyed by the station fire, was not allowed to rebuild because their existing well did not meet the requirement. You said that didn't happen. It's true, it happened. That man and his wife bought another house in Acton, so they're sitting there with their lot up Aliso Canyon to do what with?
So,
you know, you expect these people to continue paying their property taxes on a piece of property that is not buildable.
if it was destroyed in the wildfire, we will issue a permit and a water availability letter for hauled water.
I will argue that one with you all day
No,
long.
I'm
I fought
letting-
that one.
I'm letting you know-
Susie, you know who I'm talking about.
I'm letting you know right now, let him know.
Well, he doesn't want to build now, he bought a house.
I understand.
He got tired after a year and a half. He's in his early 70s, he got tired. That was his dream home, that's where they lived for 30-something years, and they weren't able to rebuild. So I'm a little frustrated hearing, just like this lady, that we're now going to experience another delay of how long before we can do this. Okay, my husband just recently died, so I'm just here fighting for my clients who are paying taxes on property that they can't build on. They can't sell it. What would you like them to do? Refund their taxes? Buy the piece of property? I know you don't have an answer for me, but I'd certainly like everybody to hear it.
We need water.
And they can't haul water.
So I
That
don't
was
understand
not allowed.
why you can't build knowing if you're gonna haul water. Like Don said,
It's a new state law.
It's state law.
It's, when
so
we,
why can't there be exceptions? I mean, I know of houses, so it's a new state law. I know of houses out here right now that don't have wells, they haul in water,
Yep.
they're fine.
Yep.
Our property produces maybe 150 gallons a day,
Yep.
which is nothing, and it's 7 acres, we have 5 horses, we do fine.
We are not allowed to permit any new development on hauled water. If hauled water is part of the source, we can't issue a permit for it.
So I think the lady said that there was 43,000 new homes or 42,000 new homes going in
43,000.
Santa Clarita Valley.
Yes.
There's the new Bridgeport project going in the 126. There's the Santa Clara River project that's being built in Sand Canyon. There's a new housing project that was just approved in Hasley Canyon One Way In, which is a private well, what do they call them? Water district. And there's also the new water districts who have all merged. We're in the midst of designing a reverse well pumping system to take the water back to the aqueduct.
So
Why
it
can't we
flows,
move into that?
back in.
No, purified.
It is happening.
No, it's purifying the water.
Oh, that was.
Why can't we bring the water from Acton all the way down? We brought a pipeline down the old road. Why can't we bring a water line down Sierra Highway?
Waterworks district?
yeah, I think we're probably getting off course here.
Yes.
I mean, someday that will happen. Right now, I think we'll be happy with a half a gallon a minute guaranteed. If we can get that, it will allow people to use their homes, to be able to sell property, to be able to build their homes, and they'll be comfortable with 750 gallons a day, of which they're only gonna use 300 gallons a day. So I think we need to push, forget all the other ideas, I'm not being rude, it's just that we've got a lot of other stuff to cover, and I know that we're not gonna solve the pipeline down Sierra Highway. I hope it comes someday soon, but I think this hopefully will come sooner before that pipeline will.
Don, what I think would be really helpful though, because I think these points are all very relevant, and you're right, we need to deal with the immediate solution. But if you guys could summarize all the comments that were made here tonight, and get those to me, I will personally share those with the supervisor.
Okay, we can't ask for more than that.
And even if they're expanded from the immediate per gallon flow, I'd like, as an example, to have you include this family story.
Okay,
I know there's other stories, the one you just shared.
right.
But if we have one example, we know it represents other similar examples.
Right.
So a summary, if you can recall all the comments,
Okay.
because tomorrow I'll probably forget most of them. But I'd really like to make sure we capture those.
Great, we will do that.
Excellent.
Yes, one more comment, one more question.
Just a corollary on the Acton Water, the Acton Water in District 37, that was formed in the 50s with the commitment that Acton Water wouldn't leave the basin, so the plan is for the pipeline is to actually bring Avon water down, so that Acton's basin doesn't dry
Right.
up. So I just want to make sure that was understood, that the pipeline will be coming, but it's really, if Acton water goes out, it's replaced by Avon water. So
And
that-
AVEC has already told us that they would love to service Agua Dulce,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that may happen. But the problem is, it's got about a $360 million price tag. So everybody would love to have it until they see what it's gonna cost per parcel at this point, so.
So don't let them build into Valencia until they run that line for us.
I hear you. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. Any last little comments, or
Contact
you want?
information back on that?
Scott, anything you wanna share to wrap it up, feel free.
Thank you very much for having us out here tonight.
Thank you for coming.
I want to applaud you for your efforts. I'm under